Hello, everyone. Welcome to the series of interviews with cybersecurity experts. I'm Eva Tasheva, your host, CEO of Cyen. And with us, we have today Luca Tagliaretti, the
Yeah,
Executive Director of the ECCC here in Europe, based in Romania. Luca, thank you for being with us.
thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here today.
It is reassuring to see the head of a European Agency for Cybersecurity Competences, which is also coming with a large experience in managing such large agency. You come with background from EU LISA,
Mhm.
the Agency for Operational Management for Large-Scale IT Systems. So you understand a little bit the IT, but you also understand
I
probably
hope so.
money.
Yes.
20 years at the European Central Bank. I think this is reassuring when the role of the ECCC is largely also linked to funding and projects. Can you tell us a little bit more about the recent announcement of the ECCC announcing to invest 390 million in funding for cybersecurity projects?
Yeah, thank you.
What is it and how it aligns with the broader goals of the EU
Yeah,
Digital Europe program?
absolutely. So the ECCC is managing one of the budget line of the DEP, of the Digital Euro program, on behalf of the European Commission, and we just published our 3 years work plan, which has defined in detail the investment from 25, 26, and 27. As you rightly say, it's 390 million distributed across 3 years. These are funds coming from the DEP. We also have a separate line, a separate type of activity on research, pure research project through the Horizon Europe. We are also responsible for managing Horizon. For this one, we still do not have the full visibility over the next 3 years, but I imagine it's something in the area of 80 to 90 million a year. This is normally what we have seen in the past. So it's a significant amount of funds. DEP are funds used for uptake of technology, so we pay 50 to 75% of the investment on projects. So as you say, how this align? The work program is the result of a long activity done with our governing board. Just to remember, the ECCC is organized as with a governing board of the 27 member states. So each decision that we take, particularly when it comes to investment, particularly when it comes to strategy, is a result of a discussion at the governing board. So we weight the national interest with European interest to ensure that we have an agenda and that provide a good mix. We have in the next 3 years 3 areas of investment major. The first one is a new technology. If you we can maybe elaborate a bit better later in the talk. One other area on the involved the creation or the reinforcement of the so-called cyber shield or the cross-border hubs, which is part of the cyber resilience, cyber solidarity act. Apologies, and then we have
Mhm.
investment on the resilience and preparedness action hospital implementation on NIS2, cyber resilience act, and so on. So these are the 3 major areas. Then we have other 2 small area on support to small and medium enterprise through the national competence coordination center, and then support action, dual use technology, and so on. But the 3 major are the ones that I have highlighted: new technology, cross-border apps, and preparedness.
Mhm. And I guess we have had in the beginning when the ECCC regulation entered into force, someone from your governing board, a very also prominent figure in cybersecurity, Mr. Dan Kampen.
Yeah.
He is at the board now, also at your host country, Romania, taking care of the cybersecurity there. And back then, he shared a very ambitious agenda, basically mission of the ECCC. Could you tell us a little bit more how this has evolved, maybe with the change of priorities? We live in very dynamic
Yeah.
geopolitical world with also a new technology. AI has been completely overshadowed on new technology discussions. How this evolved, maybe the strategy and the mission of the ECCC?
Yeah, first of all, I'm very happy that you mentioned Dan and the NSCC. We have a very good relationship with them. We not only is our host country, but also very good cooperation activity going on with them. Romania is a great host. So I don't think much has changed in the sense that the major fields are the one that Dan already highlighted. The uptake of
Mhm.
new technology, AI and quantum. I think quantum came more this year compared to what was last year when Dan had
Mhm.
this interview, but there was already a part, and quantum is a continuation. So AI and quantum. The Cyber Solidarity Act was maybe just being created, so also this was something that I guess Dan could not really elaborate. This is something that is evolving as we talk, and the other evolution is, I think, you will see in the work program the attention on preparedness action that maybe was less
Mhm.
a focus in the past. And you
Mhm.
need to understand the ECCC, it's only fully independent since September. So we, of
Mhm.
course, especially in the first 2 years, the priority were coming out from existing projects. Now we are more and more shaping our own strategy
Mhm.
with the board, and I think this will be area they will remain. But I think on this we are very good. We see eye to eye with the Romanian counterpart, and with the other counterpart as well.
Mhm. And you also mentioned AI and quantum as the key technology priorities. We have seen the European Commission, so the EU going both on the statements of investing in AI, the AI continent strategy, but also funding. The President of the European Commission, Ms. Von der Leyen, announced earlier this year 130 billion for
Yes,
AI back then, and we have seen in March um, 25 also 1.3 billion
yes.
specifically funding program. How does those two program initiatives relate to the AI action and funding and the budgeted ECCC for cybersecurity
Yeah.
specifically?
Well, other than AI, there are a lot of different initiatives going on. Of course, we are mainly focusing on the intersection between AI and cybersecurity. So AI for cybersecurity, cybersecurity for AI. So these are the two areas that we are exploring, and we are looking at how we could use AI to improve the efficiency, for example, of the detection at the cybersecurity at the cyber hubs, at the cross-border hubs and the national hubs. So this is one angle. And while the action plan of the Commission is a much broader, and it's involved now the creation of the gigafactory from the megafactory to the gigafactory. So the investment is bigger, the scope is different. We only have, if I just on top of my head, I think it's 40 million for the next 3 years on AI. So the
Okay.
numbers are very different, but we have a very specific focus, which is the one on cyber. There will be an intersection or between the two. Yes, we are cooperating obviously with the Commission on a daily basis. The work program is done in cooperation with DG Connect, so there is no surprise. We try to make sure that there is no overlap. I think it's important that we build this link between the research, so the AI part of the in Horizon, and the implementation in the depth.
Mhm.
But I don't see overlap. I see synergy, which of course we have to start exploring now. The plan, as you say, was very recently announced.
Mhm.
We have to see exactly where would be our role there.
Mhm. One way to sketch a little bit the territory is to look at specific sectors or
Yeah,
specific stakeholder communities you're targeting. You already spoke about the research
yeah,
community with Horizon. The implementation is mostly companies,
yeah,
right? But also in Digital Europe, you have collaboration between
yeah,
research, SMEs,
yeah.
companies, larger and governments. But is there anything that you come across as a formula that you could share with us in terms of distributing this upcoming 390 million
Mm.
between different
Yeah,
sectors and stakeholders? Is there?
Mm.
some ratio or
In
formula
a,
that
in a way, yeah, that's a good question. In a way, this is driven by the topics in the work program. So
you.
already the topic define who is the final the company developing something. So we have topic which are reserved for member state and or for government body, like when we talk about the implementation of the Cyber Solidarity Act. We are other where we explicitly look for SME or startup. And so the balance is done at the moment that the work program is created. The object defines somehow the action, the outcome. The Looking at the results in the past 3 years, if I'm looking at the previous 7 calls that we have run, some alone and some with with the commission, I would say we are around 40% of funds to SME, around 20% to research institute, university, another 20% to government, broadly speaking, and the remaining to larger organizations, so not SME. So
Mhm.
our regulation asks us to focus on the SME. We try to do it. We do it directly, and we do through the cascading funds of the member state. But I think there is a good mix. I mean, some in some cases you need to build consortium, even if you're a larger company, to ensure that you comply with all the requirements of the code. So it's difficult. It's always difficult for one company alone to apply to significant project.
Mhm, mhm. And sometimes combination come in innovative ways.
Yes.
Maybe I can share our personal experience at Cyen. We are also we have a project under the Digital Europe
Yeah.
program fund that started this year. It is called Confirmate, about compliance with the Cyber Resilience Act.
Okay.
Again, very focused compliance with specific regulation
Okay.
to support SMEs with tools and methodologies and training. So indeed, there comes very interesting mix between us. We have a research institute, the Fraunhofer, the National DNST Center in Romania, but also a representative of other SMEs, so the Chamber of Commerce of Italy and Germany. So
Okay.
this comes
I,
very,
we
giving the freedom
thank you
comes also
for
in
thank you for indicating. We have, I think, 160, 150 projects running at the moment. So, and there
mm,
are, I think we calculate more than 1,000 beneficiaries. So lots of difficult to have, but it's good to know. I think I recall it, but it's good to know that you mentioned it. That it's
yes,
successful.
yes.
I'm very happy about that.
Yes, indeed. What I can share from our experience, it's only successful because it makes sense. It
Yeah,
is an action that we come with our expertise on regulation. The German Institute comes with their technology already open source. So it only makes sense when it's only successful when it makes sense. It's not made to absorb some money. It
yeah,
is a support of the EU really for something that anyways
yeah,
makes sense for us as organizations to bring forward. But that's also very maybe the challenge of you as a regulator, as an organization that is predefining a little bit the topics, the conditions, the objectives
yeah.
to sense what would make sense, knowing that it's so quickly changing our field, our objectives as well somehow are changing. How do you tackle this? How do you tackle the challenge of fostering innovation through very formal projects?
Yeah, this is mainly done by making sure that when we select project during well, first of all, that we create like a channel between the existing technology or the study done, even sponsored by the EU or coming up from the industrial efforts also on research. So we make sure that there is a link between uh, investment in pure research and final investment. So the work program explicitly ask sometimes in the call to do this link, and then we do by making sure that we select the project which have viability, which have investment in new ideas, which are open the door to innovation. So this is mainly the work that the project officer are doing during the selection phase. So there is no indication on us exactly to choose one over the other. This is done. It's also depending how good the project proposals are made.
Mm. Yes, it's about the idea, but it's also about how you prepare the
Yeah, yeah.
proposal. So you,
Clearly, the key is always the call and how we describe there what the needs are in a way that then we receive proposals which are aligned with the overall strategy of the union and the strategy of the ECCC. So that's a bit where the balance need to be done.
Mhm. Maybe just to mention, because we are now deep diving into practical advice,
Yeah.
the new Digital Euro program is published, uh,
Yeah.
right? So everyone can now go,
Well,
paste
yeah,
the link.
yeah, the digital Euro program, yeah, this is already published. This is fixed. But the work program, yes, sorry, the work program is published on our website.
Okay.
You can find it, I think, on the top of the page. We also have it on LinkedIn, and yes, you will see there the individual topics, and then the calendar of the call from 25 to 27. By the way, we are gonna open the first call during June. We are now working on the specification
Mhm.
on the call, and then we will open another one in September. So we do two a year plus one for Horizon and plus a procurement. So this year will be at least four opportunity. I mean uh,
For
look at the
periods,
essentially
yes.
present. Yes, at least four opportunity. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a busy year for us and hopefully for the company applying to it.
Mm-hmm. It is good to have more opportunities, especially when the time is always was nice and sometimes it's not a good moment to go. We also have other projects to run in the back. But what about how do you manage being so busy also to administer this project? How do you manage to adapt to evolving threats? We done it back then in
Yeah,
2022. We
yeah,
discussed the evolving threats and
yeah,
how
yeah.
it's changing through technology, it's changing through
Yes,
politics.
for sure.
How do you captivate this and adapt
Well,
it to
yeah,
your
yeah.
program?
This is done. The work program is not a fixed document. It's a working document. So yes, we have now the priority for the next 3 year. Yes, we have the title and the description, but this is in constant evolution. So we are actually working already on the first amendment of the work program to reflect something that was recently also highlighted as a priority in the union, so the submarine cables, for example. So
Yeah.
we now have to include into one of the call the possibility for the cross-border SOCs or the national SOCs to monitor cross-border cables. So this is something that will
Mm.
come. The commission, Commissioner Vikkunen made as one of the priorities. So we also need to make sure this is reflected with our board in our document. So it's evolving. It's and this will continue. I mean, of course, the ambition is not to have constant update, but at least once a year we will need to look at the evolving challenges and see is this still relevant? Do we need to amend something? Do we need to shift the priorities? So I expect this to be a regular exercise in 26 and 27.
Mhm.
We are also working now on our new strategy. In 23, March 23, the ECCC published the strategic agenda. Also, this is on our website with the priority and the main fields. I think there are 28 priorities. And now we are having a hard look at this document and see is there something that we need to change in preparation of the next financial cycle, in preparation of the changes on the landscape, the threat landscape. So it's a constant review and update to make sure that we are kind of focusing on the right priority. It is also important because the project takes 3 years to be completed. So
Mhm.
we need to be a bit ahead of the curve. We cannot be behind the curve, otherwise we are too late. So
Mhm.
we work very well with ENISA. Of course, we have their input on the strategic agenda. We have their input on the threat landscape. This and then the same happen with the national agencies.
Exactly. This loops back to the organization, to the ECCC, also with the board of all national
We are
authorities for
not
cyber.
working alone. I mean, we are really working together with the.
Yes, yes. And is there other forms of engagement with the community or with member states in
Yes.
the ECCC to kind of influence or maybe be aware of the agenda
Yeah,
ahead?
I mean, this is we basically have three pillars. I like to think. First pillar is the strategy. Second pillar is the investment of the what we can do to really influence the market. The third pillar is the market itself, so the community, and the regulation uh, ask the ECCC to create, first of all, a strategic advisory group, which is a group of which is a link between the European institution and the market and the final users. And then it will also, the regulation ask us to create register a community. So we are about to start. We finalized in 2 weeks ago the registration form for creating a European-wide community of participants, which will include institution, university, research center, anyone who has a vested interest in the cyber
Mhm.
ecosystem at European level. So thousands and thousands of organizations. We want to use this in say three ways. We want to use this as an opportunity for us to provide content to say to explain the priority that we have to kind of set the agenda for the next year. So as a way for us to broadcast, we want to use it for receiving feedback from the community. So what do the industry see as a priority? Where do they see the bigger gap? Mm. And the third way, we want to use this as an opportunity for the community member to find partner, to
Okay.
find a way of really working together because the investments they are not enough, obviously, to cover the needs of the market. So we only are there to create like an effect to have to make sure that there is enough then uh, movement within the community so that the funds are really uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
that's the idea. That's really the big pillar. 25 is the year of the community, or our
Mhm.
board member like to say the ecosystem. So the ecosystem, we're working on that. So
Yes, yes.
that's a big area for engagement that I can see in the future.
Mhm. It would be very interesting to see also in this community possibly investors. I'm
Mm.
thinking of as an SME, we get
Yeah,
co-funded 75%, but it sounds good if it's our product, but often it involves a lot of administration. So it will be good to see how this community could help SME specifically.
yeah, yeah.
Of,
It's a very good observation. I mean, we have is not really, to be honest, is not part of the regulation. So I don't think we
okay.
can at the moment, but we could think of something else to keep the investor engaged in a different way. I mean, this is obviously is a good suggestion. Uh, Last year, we have been working with EXO, who provide some support, especially in engaging the community. And one of
Indeed.
some of the events were also for investors, and maybe we should explore how we could do that more in the future. I think it's a valuable suggestion.
Indeed, yes. I also discussed with EXO. This links to another project of ours, but very good initiatives to be able to match
Yeah,
basically the available resources at once in the right time, because everything is about the timing. It's of essence for success.
yeah,
In this sense,
yeah. Sorry to go back to that, but I
yeah.
think it's one of the area where Europe need to look if we want to become more competitive. Is the European funds or national funds? They only reach to a certain extent. We need to make sure that the ecosystem, which includes also investors, are there to make our economy thrive and our market grow. So that's something we should do.
Mm. And I was also positively surprised to hear 40% of the funding goes to SMEs.
Yes.
What do you think is help these SMEs participate, and is there other measures you're planning to make it easier, maybe to learn but also carry projects?
Well,
in
SME, of course, have a higher contribution rate, so we cover 75%, so that is an incentive for them to apply. And some projects are really focused on SME, again, directly or through the cascading funds.
Okay.
How do we plan to make them participate? So one of the big problem or one of the big obstacle sometimes we hear is the how complicated it is to apply to funds or how complicated it is to be aware that there are funds. So we're working on the communication together with our NCC, but also of course, without changing the regulation because it's not in our power, we want to make sure that it's easier or there is a bit of a level play field what company apply. So creating FIQ, creating manual, uh, creating probably we could use the community as one of the vehicle for sharing knowledge on how to apply. So this is one thing that we could do. Uh,
Mhm.
so that at least we make it simple or we make it as simple as possible for everyone to know when to how to apply, how to make a proposal eligible, how to fill in all the dot all the I and cross all the T, so that when you apply, you know you're done. And some countries are more mature than other because they have a longer history. Some countries, or some industry less. I have to say that we have seen an increase in the quality of the proposal, which means that
Mhm.
somehow the message is passing. But of course, it's an ongoing work.
Mhm. Something that comes to mind often from the perspective of a user. I go to the program and I look what is aligned with what project
Yeah.
I'm willing or I'm interested in doing. So sometimes we have seen other programs and
Yeah.
funding, national funding as well in Belgium, which goes to these are the priority areas, but this is the open
Mm,
call because by definition, SMEs come in all forms and shapes of innovation. It might be maybe idea that was not captured yet, but still valuable
mm.
contribution. So that I don't know if it's allowed in your regulation, but I've seen it in the EIC as well. That is an option to also give um, more opportunities
Mm.
for SMEs that doesn't necessarily fit in the
Yeah, I mean, it's a
system.
very competitive process, so it's difficult to be too flexible now when we
I
look
see.
at the at the project proposal. They need to really be fit for the type
Hmm.
of
Yeah,
project.
it's
I'm
difficult
not,
to judge. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not ruling out that we might change this. I know there are some other
Hmm.
part of the world that they have a different approach on how they maybe help
Hmm.
startup with good idea to develop is not necessarily something that we could do from at European level. I mean, this is maybe something more a member state the possibility. I think is
Okay,
difficult for us at this moment.
I
But
see.
it's an evolving landscape. Now the Commission is looking at simplification also, and I hope I will be happy if, as part of the simplification, there will be also the possibility for what you just recommend of creating a pathway for company who are develop idea which are not there yet, but they need to be they show promises.
Hmm. Yes, indeed, could be simplification for application. Of course, it weights the brings the weight on the evaluator side to judge what is better than the other project. And we spoke about resilience. So the Cyber Resilience Act needs to all these regulations come. They are very large in scope, but with one objective to make our society economy
Mm,
more resilient. Is
mm.
there any specific sectors you singled out? The hospitals, we know there's the
Yeah,
World
yeah.
Cybersecurity Plan. Is there other sectors that you are
Well,
particularly looking at now?
yeah.
Correct.
This year, the focus is really on the health sector and hospital. So we
Mm.
have 30 million just for this initiative,
Yeah.
which will be uh, an initial step. So mapping the gaps European level, and starting creating a plan for closing the gaps in a way that can be all over Europe in different, not just a national level, but as you know, the health sector is often a regional level, so we need to do it.
Mm.
So we will have pilot projects. This is the first initiative, one of the first initiatives, which we will launch already in June. So pilot projects to do this mapping and to prepare the activity for the future.
Mhm.
So that's really the focus for this year. I mentioned before cable, submarine cable, and land cable as well. So resilience of that. There will be initiative for the implementation of NIS2, both for the high critical sector and critical sector. Support for the preparedness action that at the moment are done by NISA through a different mechanism. In this case, member state will apply for having funds and running preparedness action to the high critical sector and critical sector. This already starting from 2025. Yeah, this is what we have in the really in the pipeline. I'm
Mm.
as I said at the beginning. Now the focus in hospital, and we will pursue that. We might have we might see now in the future a reason to also include in the priority other sectors. I'm not ruling this out. Public administration, it's an important area where we also need to
Mm.
ensure that there is enough resilience.
Yes, indeed. And in that respect, probably you also work very closely with Enisa. You mentioned
Yeah, yeah.
already on the threat landscape.
Yeah, for the health initiative, Venice is responsible for this um, SOC for hospital. We are responsible for the this pilot and the mapping of the gaps and the creation of the roadmap for some of the uh, raising the resilience and preparedness of the hospital in a uniform way. So different. We are more looking into long term. How do we change the market? How do we change the
Mhm.
ecosystem to be more resilient? And
Mhm.
so our actions are generally not short term, but a medium term at least. This is where we look into that. Why it needs as a more,
Mhm.
I don't want to say an operational role. It's up to them to define themselves, but they have a more like SOC is something that they are in
Yeah.
the best condition to do what we will never be able, and it's not in our mandate to do that. So this is
Mhm.
why we are working very well with the NISA because we have a really different timeline,
Mhm.
somewhat different priority and different roles.
Yes, yes, but it's important indeed to be aligned because then they
Absolutely.
would have to implement what you have, what you
ENISA
have.
is in our governing board.
Yes.
We have daily interaction with them at different level, and we just come up from a joint governing board meeting with ENISA 2 weeks ago. So I think I have to say we have a very good cooperation, and I'm sure this is only grow better in the future.
Mhm. You are aware that in Europe now the talk is a lot about the review of the Cybersecurity Act.
Yes.
So the famous piece of legislation that we had from 2017, setting the mandate of ENISA, but also the certification scheme.
Yeah.
Is there something particular you see that could help
Yeah.
your organization or your planning?
But
Or
this I leave to the legislator. I don't want to enter into the commission.
yes.
I'm sure they having somehow the helicopter view that they have, they are in the best position to say how this
Mhm.
might have an influence on us, on other body. I think it's difficult for me to comment. I like the idea that I mean, I like our mission. We're being created with a very specific mission, which is unique. And I think we need to build on this. Whether in the review of the regulation there will be a space for us to have a role, then of course we would be happy. But
Mhm.
our mandate is very clear. Uh,
Mhm.
we don't have any, we have no really any interaction in that respect. I mean, will be
Mhm.
the co-legislator and the commission.
Indeed.
Yes.
It's day-to-day business that
Yeah,
is not your.
yeah, that's about.
Yeah.
I'm very confident
I
about.
And is there any specific message you would like to share with our audience now from business industry or policymakers about the importance of participating in the programs of the
Exactly, that's
Digital
what we
Europe
say.
Program?
Importance is to keep engaged.
Mhm.
Now, have a look at what's available. If you find that there are good ideas that you want to propose for funding, find partner, apply to the grants, become member of the community. I mean, we really need to build on this in this year, and we can only make these funds successful if we integrate them. Otherwise, they will only be focused on small sector. We need
Mm,
to scale up on what we have to make sure that the solutions are available for all the European citizens, for the market,
mm,
for the member states. So that's
mm.
my only plea is to continue to what you're doing so far.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Luca. Everyone is invited to go to your website, the
Yes,
ECCC. I'll post the link so they can find more information on the working
and
program.
engage with the national competence center. I mean, the NCC at national level, there is always a point of contact. Check with them what they have in the. They might have webinar, they might have training. There is always something happening. First of all, engage with the national community, and then, of course,
Okay.
you can engage with us as well.
Very good tip. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine.
Thank
Thank you.